Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I hope you're doing well. Now, I actually did plan a build for this video to go up on the weekend, but I didn't quite manage to get there. But I thought in the meantime, we'll give you another preview. I did say that I'll be covering this in the last video. This is the ASUS Prime B660M-A D4, which is a micro ATX for the 12th gen Intel LGA 1700 that supports DDR4 memory, so you're not going to have to go hunting around for that DDR5 that seems to be very elusive at the moment. Definitely on the more affordable side for the 12th gen platform. Going to be a great pair to go with the 12400 or the 12400F. Intel very kindly sent me one out to pair with this board, so we are going to be doing a build with this. So in this one, we're going to go over this board and tell you about some of the features. There also is a little bit of a limitation with B660 that I'll cover as well. I've also put the 12900K to my right that was kindly sent by Scan. The build with this should hopefully be next, so stay tuned and get subbed and do the bag so don't miss it. But I was a little bit out of sorts this week, so I'm hoping that that will be the very next video. So let's crack open this box. The key things on the front I've mentioned already: LGA 1700 for the 12th gen, Windows 11 ready, Aura Sync, and it's got RGB Gen 2 on this as well. But I'll show you all the connectors and stuff in the box. So very simple in terms of contents of this, because it is a more budget orientated board. You have got a couple of SATA cables tucked away in this little pocket. One of them is a right angle. We've got an M.2 pad, single-sided one, user guide, driver's disc, quick start guide, and I'm guessing some warranty instructions or safety info. Yeah. And then a couple of M.2 screws there as well. Finally, our I/O shield, very simple, but again, being a budget one, you're not going to expect anything overly fancy. As I said, it's the B660M, which means it's micro ATX. So if you're going to be using a smaller case, make sure that you can support a micro ATX. It's not just an ITX case that you're using, because that will cause a whole lot of issues. It actually does look quite wide as well. It is actually a standard size for a micro ATX board, but when it arrived, I did double check, because it does perceive to be wider, but it is a standard size. We've got a nice heat sink. This seems to be a bit of machined aluminium, nothing along the top, but this is aimed towards the kind of 65 watt TDP processors, so not a board that's going to get overly hot, so we don't need to worry too much about having any heat sinks over the top as well. We've got a single 8-pin. Again, we're not going to be using the 12900K on this, so you're not going to need the additional 8-pin that you might see on higher end boards. There's two fan headers at the top. We've got one for CPU, and there's an optional fan there as well. There's also some more fan connectors. There's one on the channel fan on the left of the M.2 slot. There's also one by the 24-pin as well. So of course we've got our LGA 1700 socket. Let's cover that back up. To the right of the socket, we've got our DIMM slots. This supports a maximum of 128 gigabytes of DDR4 at a maximum of 5,333 megahertz. There's a USB 3 header that comes straight out from the board, which is a little bit trickier for cable management, but again, it is a budget board, so there are going to be some compromises. However, that being said, there is a USB-C header, which is nice to see. That's usually one of the caveats for budget boards. You don't generally see that header. A bit further down, we've got two SATA ports coming out at a right angle, which is nice. There are some additional ones further down should you need them. We've got our 5-volt ARGB header, which is the Gen 2.1. There's also a standard 12-volt there to the left of that as well. I did notice that there are two addressable ones on the very top of the board as well, so in a good place to be able to cable manage. Got all your front panel stuff down there as well. There's another USB 3 header there, which will come straight out from the board, but at the bottom you generally see them that way anyway. Right angles are generally for the right hand side of the board. Also two USB 2 headers, which is quite handy. And then let's cover off our M.2 slot. So for this, we've got two on this board. Let's just take off the cover. So underneath we've got a thermal pad. Make sure you take off that protective layer when you actually do install your drive. Then the slot itself supports up to 80mm long NVMe. There's also another one to the bottom right that again supports an 80mm drive. We've got a nice reinforced PCIe slot there as well. I really like the kind of semi-opaque color that the latches use, rather than just a black or a solid color. It's quite nice. Breaks it up a little bit, something a little bit different. Below that, there's two more PCI slots. These are going to be running at Gen 3, so the one above is going to be Gen 4, so make sure you stick it in the top slot.
That's what she said.
So let's just pop this back on, and then we'll look at the I/O. So for rear I/O, we've got a display port. There's two HDMIs, a little bit different, generally only see one. A PS2 port for anyone who wants to use any OG peripherals. There's a total of 6 USBs, and the black ones are USB 3 Gen 2, and the green ones are going to be USB 2. Now typically these would be blue for Gen 3 and then black for Gen 2, so just remember they are the other way around, so the Gen 3 is on the outside and then Gen 2 in the middle. We've got a gigabit Ethernet, and then finally some simple audio. So I've just popped the 12400F in just before we end off the video. I'm actually really looking forward to doing my build with this combo. I can see this being a really popular combination for anyone that wants to get into 12th gen or doing a new build. The actual processor is a 6-core 12-thread processor and retails for $169. Nice. Really looking forward to how this performs, so make sure you get subscribed and ding the bell so you don't miss that build that will be coming up very soon. But I think for this one, that's it. That's a nice little overview around the board itself. If you've got any more questions, of course, leave them in the comments below. I'll link the products that I mentioned in this video down in the description box as well if you fancy picking any up. But I think that's it for this one. So thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one.